Good morning and welcome to today's edition of Good Morning Hebrew Home. I am your host for Friday, Liisa Murray. Today is Friday, April 23rd. The weather today is going to be a high of 63 and clear skies all day with winds up to 14 miles per hour. So getting back to some of that spring weather. If you get a chance to go outside, grab a light jacket and enjoy. On this day in history, in 1931, the U.S. gangster film The Public Enemy, starring James Cagney and Jean Harlow, premieres. In 1932, the Shakespeare Memorial Theatre opens at Stratford-on-Avon, England. In 1939, the first performance of Bela Bartok's Second Concerto for Violin. In 1939 as well, Boston Red Sox Ted Williams hits his first home run. In 1950, also in sports news, we've got a lot of sports and a lot of theater on this day. In 1950, the first Major League game day is completed under lights. It's between the Phils and the Braves. 1954, Hammer and Hank Aaron hits first of his 755 homers. In 1955, Robert Wright and George Forrest's musical Kismet closes at the Ziegfeld Theater in New York City after 583 performances. I wonder if any of you went to go see Kismet. I've talked about that musical with a few of you. So, in 1963, also in musical news, Jerry Bach and Sheldon Harnick's musical She Loves Me opens at the Eugene O'Neill Theater in New York City for 302 performances. In 1964, James Baldwin's play Blues for Mr. Charlie premieres in New York City. In music in 1965, I Can't Help Myself, parentheses, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch. The single is released by the Four Tops and becomes the Billboard Song of the Year in 1965. In 1975, Harold Pinter's play No Man's Land premieres in London. And in 1982, the 8-bit personal home computer, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, is released and goes on to sell 5 million worldwide. Woo. 1985, this was a controversial one. New Coke debuts. Coca-Cola announced it is changing its secret flavor formula and infamously became very unpopular. People said, change it back. In 1993, Peter Townshend's musical Tommy premieres in New York City. And in news that is very near and dear to my heart on this day in history, in 2016, Beyoncé releases her 6th album, Lemonade, with a 1-hour film on HBO. So, in holidays for today, the first holiday also, the Beyoncé is near and dear to my heart. This is also near and dear to my heart. It is Impossible Astronaut Day. What is Impossible Astronaut Day, you ask? It is on April 23rd, and it is a day on which all the biggest fans of the super hit sci-fi series Doctor Who, of which I am one, celebrate the airing of Season 6, Episode 1 of the show. Did you know that Doctor Who was partly inspired by Sherlock Holmes? The first episode of the 6th season of the series premiered on the British Broadcasting Corporation in 1963. It's been going on for over 50 years. A few years ago, they had their 50th anniversary. And fun fact, Stephen Moffat, the showrunner for the newest version of Sherlock Holmes, Sherlock, was also the showrunner for Doctor Who. So another little fun fact of comparison between the two stories and characters. Today is also Shakespeare Day. National Shakespeare Day is celebrated all over the world on April 23rd, and we are getting ready to enjoy the day in the best way possible by watching his popular plays, talking like his characters, and even trying to dress in attire from that era. Have you thought? Have you tried? Did you know William Shakespeare is one of the very rare individuals who was born and died on the same date today, April 23rd? Well, in other famous birthdays, in 1928, Shirley Temple, Shirley Temple, American actress, famous 1930s child star, known for Bright Eyes and Heidi, and diplomat in her later life, was born in Santa Monica, California, and she only died a few short years ago in 2014. In 1936, Roy Orbison, American rock singer, some of his songs, Pretty Women, Only the Lonely, Traveling Wilburys, Handle with Care, born in Vernon, Texas. And in 1977, John Oliver, English comedian, best known for The Daily Show, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, was born in Birmingham in the West Midlands in the UK. So turning to birthdays a little closer to home, in staff birthdays, today, John from Plant Operations, Venus from Nursing, and Lori from Marketing. Tomorrow, Jasani and Nichelle from Food Service, and Francisco from Plant Operations. And on Sunday, a big happy birthday to William from Nursing and Joanna from IT. In resident birthdays, today we don't have any, but tomorrow, Rini S. and Rosa P. Hi, Rosa. And Sunday, Mary G. A big happy birthday to all of those staff and residents from all of us here at Good Morning Hebrew Home. And now let's get into the most important part of the show, where we talk about what we'll be eating this weekend. So, in non-kosher menus, we'll begin with the non-kosher menus. Today's lunch is a lox and cream cheese bagel with carrot and raisin salad with vanilla cream cookies for dessert. The dinner will be cream of spinach soup, Salisbury steak, oven roasted potatoes and green beans with a blueberry crumb cake for dessert. Saturday, Tuscan chicken for lunch with garlic mashed potatoes and broccoli florets with pears for dessert. And for dinner on Saturday, the soup is cream of squash, the entree is stuffed shells with California blend vegetables, and the dessert is strawberry ice cream. And Sunday, I think this is always a nice Sunday lunch, oven fried chicken, sweet potato, cauliflower, chocolate chip cookies for dessert. And for dinner that night, split pea soup with blueberry blend souffle, baked apple slices, and rice pudding for dessert. And now in kosher meals for the weekend, the kosher menu for today, the lunch is garlic parmesan flounder, quinoa with edamame, Brussels sprouts, and vanilla cream cookies for dessert. The dinner, the soup is vegetable soup, the entree is barbecue chicken with roasted potatoes, steamed carrots, and a jelly roll for dessert. On Saturday, lunch is cholent, potato kugel, zucchini and squash with pears for dessert. The dinner is minestrone soup. The entree is vegetable quiche with broccoli and cauliflower, strawberry ice cream for dessert. And on Sunday, lunch is meatloaf with egg, barley, and mushroom. Dessert is grapes. And dinner is lentil soup, baked ziti and broccoli, and vanilla pudding. Those sound pretty good to me. Well, as always, I haven't heard from you in a while. I would love for you to give me a call. Are there any fellow Doctor Who fans? Any Sherlock Holmes fans? Anyone seen Kismet? Do you want to just leave me a message about something? I would love to hear from you. So please give us a call, 2813. That's a voicemail. You can just pick up your phone, your room phone, dial 2813 and leave us a message. Or you can see any of your activities people and give them a message and they'll find their way to me. So today's positive news story. Yesterday was Earth Day, and this year we've been celebrating nature a little closer to home. And the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is giving us great ways to get to know the place that we're in. To this end, the FWS has launched a group of articles and activities specifically for those who are maybe feeling a little stuck in self-isolation. There are recommendations for famous books on nature by American authors like Henry David Thoreau, activities and hobbies for adults and kids, and citizen science practices for people who want to become intimate with their environment. We can find inspiration in the night sky, motivation in birds that migrate thousands of miles to nest in our yards, entertainment in a chorus of spring peepers, and reassurance in the cheerful yellow daffodil signaling the return of spring, writes the FWS. Wherever you are, there may never be a better time than now to pick up a new hobby, characteristic of tree huggers, stargazers, and bird watchers. One idea is to sharpen your observation skills. In his classic work on the changing seasons and their character upon his farm in Wisconsin, Aldo Leopold detailed this in the Sand County Almanac about how he observed everything. The chorus of bird song every month, including which were the first birds to begin, which were the last to join, and which were the last ones to stop. I recently had been hearing the same bird out of my window every morning, and I didn't think it was a pigeon, and I looked up the call, and it's a mourning dove, one of the most common birds throughout the United States, but I had never identified it. So that was something fun I learned. He would look up which way the gophers would look upon exiting their burrows, where the wind blew during each month, and when every bird arrived and departed on their migratory routes. So perhaps now is a good time to go to your favorite spot, under a tree, on a bench, somewhere on our great lawn. Take out a pen and start recording what you see, hear, and smell. Can you smell trees while they are flowering? Which birds can you hear? Are there insects going about their own diminutive errands? There may be a lot more going on than you realize, even in our own backyard. Biodiversity is an ecosystem's most important asset. It ensures rich supplies of food all the way up the food chain and resistance to diseases which can wipe out ecosystems with weak biodiversity. Taking up birding is another idea. For younger readers, bird watching, or birding for short, may seem like a boring pastime, but in reality, it can be a tremendously engaging and meditative hobby that connects you with creatures that, while seeming reserved and uninteresting, are much more than they seem. Birding could even be considered, I thought this was funny, an adult version of Pokemon, if you're familiar with the game Pokemon. You have to go out into the world and explore different habitats as you try and catch them all. Gotta catch them all. If you've been watching the show for a while, you know that last year, me and some of my friends, my coworkers here, got into looking at birds and even saw a hawk or a falcon. I haven't decided which, last year, which was very exciting. So here's how you can get started. Get yourself a pair of binoculars and maybe a birding app or a book, such as the official Audubon birding app. They have tons of resources to help you ID any feathered friends you spot. Start by learning to recognize the bone and feather structure of different birds. For example, wrens have curled beaks, grosbeaks look like cardinals, nuthatches walk along tree trunks, and towhees forage for food on the ground. This will help you narrow down the list of possible birds. After that, you just have to select the month and region and coloration, and you'll normally only be left with a few choices of species. Another option is to enjoy great works of nature writing and film. If you don't feel like turning on the television to watch the exciting new documentary on Jane Goodall, you can always pick up her 1996 bestseller, My Life with the Chimps, about how she became the first woman in the world to study chimps and how her research ended up transforming the scientific community. Meanwhile, further back in history, no work of 19th century American literature is as widely distributed across the world as Walden, the story of how Henry David Thoreau rejected civilized life for that of the isolated naturalist in a log cabin which he built on Massachusetts' Walden Pond. If you would rather get up close and personal with the world's wildlife, Netflix also just announced that they are streaming every episode of their beautiful Our Planet documentary series for free on YouTube. So those are a few more ways you can engage with nature. And another idea, try and use nature to ease your worries. Researchers have documented for years how exercise or just being in an outdoor space rich in greenery can ease and reduce symptoms of depression or anxiety. One 2019 study said only 20 minutes in nature was enough to lower levels of hormones related to stress, such as cortisol. Our study shows that for the greatest payoff in terms of efficiently lowering levels of the stress hormone cortisol, you should spend 20 to 30 minutes sitting or walking in a place that provides you with a sense of nature, says Dr. Mary Carol Hunter, an associate professor at the University of Michigan and lead author of the research. So rather than dwelling on the stress of being kept indoors, which is certainly stressful, perhaps it may be more beneficial for you to focus your appreciation on the great outdoors. After all, the nation celebrated its first ever Earth Day in 1970, alongside the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency and Congress's approval of the Clean Water Act, the Endangered Species Act, and the Clear Air Act. And although we may be faced with a different set of environmental dangers in 2021, we can still be spurred to action if we remember that we are all citizens of the same planet Earth. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity. We have such a beautiful, great lawn. If you get an opportunity to go outside on your own or with one of our nature walks, we've been coming up to the neighborhoods. I'll be coming up to one of the neighborhoods this afternoon to take some residents downstairs. So if you see myself or one of our staff members taking people downstairs, come say yes, spend some time with us, enjoy the nature together. So that's it for today. Tune in later today for Catholic services at 11:15 and Shabbat Shalom at 3 p.m. Today's Broadway matinee at 2 p.m. on Channel 11 is The Lion. I wanted to give you a brief summary since this is maybe one that's less well known, but I think you would really enjoy watching. In The Lion, writer-performer Benjamin Shore tells a story about love, loss, loyalty, and the redemptive power of music. This one-man musical is also a coming-of-age story where a son seeks his father's love and goes on a deeply personal journey to become his own man. Shore plays and sings the incredible story of his family and his close call with mortality, all while supported by a cast of 6 guitars. So if you're a guitar fan, good one for you. Some stories just have to be sung. The award-winning hit theatrical production of The Lion received rave reviews at Manhattan Theater Club, Geffen Playhouse in LA, and a national tour. So I hope you check that one out and let me know what you think. If you missed any portion of today's show, it will be replayed on Channel 88 at 6:30, and you can find all of our episodes on YouTube. Well, we here at Good Morning Hebrew Home wish you all a wonderful weekend, and we will see you back here Monday morning.